have to like be in San Francisco because we're like based in San Francisco, and we have like, you know, regulations and like contracts and, you know, stuff like that. So we have to basically, you know, stick to people in San Francisco. I mean, people outside of San Francisco can be involved in the project in, you know, various different ways depending on like, you know, what the project's about.
Okay. What is the deadline for the applications for this season?
June 1st. That's after June 1st, then we're not accepting any more applications for this cycle.
Yeah, and then I believe it's our last cycle for like the time being. Like usually we have, you know, like our first cycle was February 1st, then it was April 1st, and, you know, now June, you know, 1st is our last one, but we don't know when exactly we'll be funding again. We know we'll fund next year for sure, but we don't know when later this year we'll be funding. So if you guys have, you know, application that you want to turn in, I suggest you do it now.
Get it in quick.
Mm-hmm.
And how long does it take to have a guaranteed grant for your clients?
I mean, it's never guaranteed that you're gonna actually get funded, but it's a good chance. Like, it depends on how much effort and passion you actually put into your proposal. Like, if you just put something together and just give it in, then I mean, you do have a second chance to show what your project is about during your interview. That's why we offer interviews, because a lot of people, I mean, they speak more well than they can write, so that's why we do interviews.
Yeah, and when we fund projects, the projects vary from, like, you know, it all depends like on how much money you're asking for, because you don't necessarily have to ask for $10,000, and how, you know, and how long you're gonna spend it. Like, if some projects are like 1.5 years long, while others are just like 2 or 3 months.
And speaking of interviews, how do they prepare for the interviews? What do they have to do?
I mean, they just basically have to know their project, because that's all we're going to ask them. We're just going to ask questions about their project, questions that we didn't understand from reading it, or other questions that the other staff members had about their applications, because when we do interviews, everybody from our board doesn't be in the interview. Only your program officer and your youth evaluator that's assigned to that program is. And so we ask them questions that the other staff might have, or questions that we might have, or clarification questions and questions they have for us.
Yeah, basically, like, to get prepared it's just to know your project, like, know what you're applying for, know exactly what you're doing, you know.
Okay.
Like, yeah, just know what you're talking about.
So, I mean, people don't have to worry about anything like the interviews as long as they're passionate about what they want to fund.
Yeah, basically.
So, you know, no fear, guys. Just know what you're talking about. Can they fax or email applications?
Yep.
Yes, fax, email, mail.
It's all
in person, drop off at our office.
Drop it off.
Oh, it's all in the application.
Yep.
Okay. We have a phone call, and hello, caller, you there?
Hello.
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 Hi. I was calling about the YFYI program that you guys are talking about. I was watching the show, and I was hearing you guys talk about it, and I was wondering if it's all like youth. Do youth decide whether to give out money or not, or is there like an adult who's responsible, or like what, like, is it all youth that's doing it?
Yes, it's all youth. All the youth decide when in our board meeting. After all the interviews are conceived and everything, then we all meet as a board and we discuss all of our projects, and we do PowerPoints of our projects, and we discuss what's good and bad if about the project, and then we take a vote whether or not if our whole board wants to fund them or not. And it's all youth.
Yeah, but basically, you know, we are like completely youth led. Like, we do have adult staff.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I mean, we do have like adult staff that are also involved, but they just, like, you know, kind of supervise. Yeah, they just, like, you know, kind of just supervise us, watch over us, but we basically do all like the hard work.
We do everything.
Wow, so the youth decides who to fund and who not to fund.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
Wow, so you guys have like a lot of responsibility. Oh, that's cool. You know, I was just calling to see what was up with that, because I wasn't really too clear on that.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
You have another question?
That's pretty much it. I just think it's real cool that youth are getting that kind of opportunity where they have that kind of like responsibility where they get to decide what goes into their community and to their city. That's real cool.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for calling.
Yeah.
All right.
You have a good day.
Toodaloo.
All right.
So, people giving you guys props. So, how do you guys decide on whether or not you want to fund a proposal? Is it all up to just the youth, or do the adults have to get in it? Or what's the whole process of the funding?
It's basically
Basically, you just kind of like, you just like, all right, you turn in the application, right, and you, all right, yeah, you turn in the application, right, kind of like how Trey was explaining it earlier. You basically, you know what, I'm kind of stuck.
Okay, let me tell y'all. Okay, it's when we do our board meetings, we do a PowerPoint, and our PowerPoint it has like 11 slides or whatever, and all the slides talk about the project. And whether or not your program officer and your youth evaluator wanted to fully recommend you guys up for funding, then that was all based on your interview. If you got a good impression in your interview and everything, then your program officer and your youth evaluator would do a PowerPoint for you to be up for funding. And so it depends on like how well your project is and just how well the other board members like take it on. Like if they like it, then you guys will be funded. It's simple. It's real simple.
Okay, so how long has this funding and working with each other been going on?
Like I believe
2 years now, or this
like
our third year?
2 or 3 years, I believe. Like we got hired last year.
It's still new. We're still new.
You know, we just like, we're not really like we had our pilot year last year, and I believe the year before we kind of just, we got everything started, and now we're kind of more structured and we know what we're doing. And so, yeah, I think 3 years strong.
Good stuff. So moving on to more nitty-gritty, kind of more personal stuff. What are some major issues facing the community that you think people should like start programs and funding about?
Youth wages. Youth wages
And
is
youth employment.
basically
youth housing. I mean, it's a lot of issues.
There are a lot of issues, but like
are going on.
Well, like I think the top 3 issues that we know of right now are youth employment, violence, and the lack of programs in general. Like, you know, like any kind of random like program. You know, like youth resources.
Youth need more resources that they can go to.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is YFYI like strictly looking for? Well, not strictly, but what are you guys focused on? Like, what do you guys look for
in our projects?
Yeah, in your projects.
Well, we look for how much it involves the community, because we want to fund stuff that a lot of people can benefit from. And we look for also like sustainable change, like if it's only going to be a one-day event for like $10,000, then we want to fund like something, we want to make it longer, like 6 months or something. We want to have stuff that, you feel me, just goes on for a long time that really benefits the community. And you have something that? Yeah,
like basically like, you know, ideas that are new. You know, ideas that you feel that you don't have, that are not possible, you know, they can really be possible. Like, you know, we give up to $10,000.
And we also like to target high-risk youth. We feel that they're like a major priority for us. High-risk youth. So all y'all high-risk youth, come holla at us.
And okay, so speaking of that, high-risk youth or whatever, like, can you all talk more about the projects that you have funded and how they're doing? Like, give examples.
Let me think.
Projects we funded.
Talk about.
Self-defense program. Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just funded a self-defense program, and it's basically, and that's kind of like, that's plain and simple. You know, a program that is gonna benefit a number of people. You know, it just teaches self-defense to at-risk youth. You know, anybody can join. It's free, and it just